Hello, this is Barbara Combe, and I have the pleasure and privilege to have Professor Kitsing with me. Meelis is an Estonian citizen. He's been working, he's actually the rector of the private university, the business school in Estonia, but he's also the leader of a think tank in Estonia that is related with the government, working on more efficiency, on IT, on deregulation. Meelis, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Meelis, we will talk about your extensive academic work a little bit later and about the Estonian Business School. But let's kick off our conversation with what has brought us together, the Free Market Roadshow. So you are not only an organizer of our Free Market Roadshow event, but you are also a speaker at various events. And we will have the Estonian event in April. And when will that be? Is it correct that it is the 29th?
Yes, actually in Estonia we will have two events. So we have sort of, let's say, more traditional free market roadshow event in the end of April 29th, hosting as usual quite a lot of international speakers, but also some local speakers, and that will be in English. But we are also organizing additional event on March 31st, which will be primarily in Estonian. So this is a little bit about localization of the content and trying to make the debate, highly relevant for also Estonian policymakers.
Before we get into detail with the general topic of the Free Market Roadshow, which is 250 years of wealth of nations, 250 years of American independence, but also 66 years of Hayek's Constitution of Liberty, what will you cover on the 31st of March at the Estonian Business School with the special Free Market Roadshow event?
We will particularly focus on regulation. And I'm also in the board of, for instance, Estonian Service Industry Association. And when I talk with different businesses in Estonia, in different areas, in my own area, education, transportation, healthcare, and many other areas, then there is this sort of growing feeling that our regulatory state has become too powerful. So there are all kinds of different regulations, and some of them totally don't make sense. And so this is our focus. Estonian government has also set up a special task force on regulations, which is headed by a couple of business representatives, and they are sort of systematically going through with different regulations in different areas and sort of trying to minimize their negative impact.
Are they doing that via looking at each and every law and each and every executive order? Or are they just coming from the other side, from the market side, saying, oh, this is disruptive for enterprises, this doesn't work for enterprises, this is too bureaucratic for enterprises, and that's kind of the business people provide the suggestions? Or are you coming from both sides?
Well, it's kind of both sides, but I think in the end, it's actually like looking at specific regulations and trying to figure out that could we sort of do the same thing more efficiently. Because I think the issue there is that we're all members of the European Union, and a lot of regulations also come from the European Union. The regulatory powers of the EU are quite strong. But the problem is that sometimes our own Estonian approach is much, different or even stronger in interpretation of those regulations. So because I think in the EU we also have certain degree of flexibility, how to interpret and different countries do it differently, right? So, and I think we should be a little bit more careful how we actually write those EU regulations into domestic regulations.
Well, trust me, Estonia is not alone. We in Austria do the same thing. We call it gold plating.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do exactly the same thing. And but talking about EU, thanks for bringing it up. Have you seen any consequences of the so-called omnibus packages that were published last year in order to reduce bureaucracy and the burden of regulation? Have there been any outcomes, positive outcomes for Estonia yet or not?
Of course, yeah, personally I haven't seen. I mean, I also have been in some of the meetings in the EU with the Commission as part of the Estonian business delegations, and there has been a lot of sort of talk about reducing the regulatory burdens. But at the moment, I think it's a little bit too early to talk about concrete impact or effects of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, I mean, it was only prolonged for 2 years, and
Exactly.
for small and medium-sized enterprises, some burdens were taken off, but eventually all those reporting regulations are still there. And this is the costs of those are tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What would you, if you could decide on your own? What would you cut first, and what would you totally get rid of in order to help businesses to grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm actually very much focused on my own area, which is education, and what we see in education, as a private university, for instance, is that Estonia is a very difficult environment for us. So. Because there is the unfair treatment of private universities in comparison to public universities. So public universities are heavily subsidized, for instance. They get most of the revenue from the government. In our case, only 10% is government related. So I think this is, I feel very strongly about it. This is like one area, and I think diversity in education, students have different preferences, and having like a more diverse educational ecosystem is actually hugely important. But I think the same ideas sort of apply to some other areas as well, like healthcare, where we have seen also tremendous increase in government intervention and so on.
Would you like to add anything else with regards to the 31st of March for the Tallinn special free market roadshow event? Where at the university?
Yeah, it will be at the university on 31st March. We'll publish the details soon, but I guess it could be a little bit like challenging for non-Estonian speakers, because we'll only have one presentation in English. The rest of it will be in Estonian. So bring your Estonian friend along as a translator if you want to participate, or learn Estonian in the coming months.
Quick version. Do you want to announce the speakers already, or is that too early?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can announce for sure that I will be one of the speakers. So, but there will be
this is a very good speaker.
So there will be a few more. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and then let's go into the other event, April 29th, because as you all know, we kick off the Free Market Roadshow March 2nd in Cluj, and then we tour Europe until 31st of March, and then we will move over to America, start in the US, in Midland on the 7th of April. But parallel, we will also do a Spanish tour with Spanish-speaking speakers. And then we will kind of continue once we return from the US, we will continue in Europe and finish up sometime in May. But let's look into the April 29th event in Tallinn, again at the Estonian Business School, at your private university. And we have great international speakers. We have John Thund from the US, we have Eamon Butler from Great Britain, and we also have Ron Manners from Australia. So who is a very well-known business person as well, and knows the area, the region for many years, or has known the region for many years. So what would you expect from this event?
No, I mean, I think they are all excellent speakers, and Ron actually has been before in Estonia and free market roadshow, speaking about free trade together with Razin Salik from Singapore. So, and he has visited us, several times, and I think in his case, what is really relevant for us at the business school, that he has this sort of strong interest in ideas, but at the same time has also this tremendous practical experience from Australia, building up mining companies. And this is we as a business school, this is something that we aim at. That it's not just about talking, but it's also about walking the walk basically, and sort of bridging the practical field with the ideas. And with John Fund, I also have experience. I think during COVID, I hosted a pre-market roadshow. It was a virtual one, and I think he was one of the speaker. And of course, having like such a wonderful speaker, Adam Smith expert as Ian Butler, that adds tremendous value to the event. So I think it will be wonderful discussion.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because after all, we will celebrate the birth of capitalism and the wealth of nations. And as you mentioned, Ian Butler is the head of the former president of the Adam Smith Institute. And they are constantly promoting 250 years of Wealth of Nations right now. So this is definitely something that would be of interest for the students. And since you brought up John Fund, who is an international journalist and has been traveling extensively, also before the Iron Curtain had fallen in Eastern Europe, and knows the countries kind of how they rebuilt themselves and how they brought capitalism back to the people. I think this will be a very interesting conversation. Meelis, thank you again for hosting the roadshow and for being part of that. And looking forward to more events together with you and the university, the Business School of Estonia. And what else would you say finally to promote our event, looking at our Free Market Roadshow website and at the Estonian Business School website?
So I would say that I think even if sort of celebrating just historical milestones, then ideas from Adam Smith, from the Wealth of Nations, are highly relevant today. So we see a sort of creeping protectionism, me losing the trust in free trade, and I think it's really important to go and revisit what Adam Smith had to say.
Thank you very much, Meelis, for joining me, and looking forward to the event. Thank you.